finally passed 70,000, and this time with real volume. Why is this important? Why am I coming out here talking about this in the middle of an Iran war, in the middle of Kraken getting their skinny fed master account, in the middle of all of crypto pumping, in the middle of Barron Trump coming out and buying 100.07 million XRP yesterday, in the middle of Ripple Prime getting plugged into the DTCC? Why the hell do I care that Bitcoin is above $73,000? Why is that what's important to me? Well, if you've been a part of this channel for any amount of time, since the fall off below 70K, I said I'm not believing any pump, I'm not believing any increase, I'm not believing anything until Bitcoin pushes back above 70K with some real volume. We have that today, but that makes absolutely no sense with all of this geopolitical uncertainty. Why is Bitcoin pumping right now? Well, we talk about it all the time in this channel. We follow the golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rules. We follow the money. Well, BlackRock was buying Bitcoin this morning. Binance was buying Bitcoin this morning. Iranians are buying Bitcoin this morning. We are starting to see an increase, an uptick in global flight to alternative currencies, not just the United States anymore. We have a lot of data to go over today. Everything has a piece of building this narrative, right? And I say narrative, I'm not here to tell you a story, but what we try to do is we try to uncover what's really happening with the news, what's really happening with the price. And all of this is to determine where things are going to go over the next 5 to 10 years. But there is things are so spicy right now. There is so much misinformation. I got stuck on a rabbit hole. If you guys follow me on X, I got stuck on a rabbit hole on X last night, retweeting all kinds of things. And the reason I did that is because I wanted to give an example of the amount of noise we have to cut through, talking about deep fakes and everything else across the board. So what's real and what's not? Well, what's real is Bitcoin is above 70,000. What's real is we have been tracking this for a while now. You can see these lines that I have placed in here. Obviously, right? I did that for a reason, and you can see fell down, came up, fell down, fell down, came up, fell down, came up, fell down, right? We have not been able to get past this intersection until today, and we pushed through it with some serious volume. Now, why do I care about Bitcoin? I don't even hold Bitcoin, but right now, all of crypto does follow Bitcoin with the exception of a select few, Canton Network being one of those. If you're new to the stream, I hold XRP, Canton Network, Chainlink, HBAR, and Ondo, and those have been doing very well for me. That being said, I'm about the long view. I also hold copper, silver, gold, real estate, alternative energy, US treasuries, but about 50% of my investment does fall in crypto because I believe in the infrastructure for the long view. And again, if you guys are here engaged in the chat is the lifeblood of the stream. We do a live Q&A at the end of the stream. We stream every single day at noon, Monday through Saturday. And the entire goal of this channel is number one, to build for the long view, but number two, to cut through the noise and cut through the narratives to find out what's real and what's not. Because something will happen and you're going to get 50 different interpretations of what happened. No one knows what's real. You got hopium, you've got shady stuff going on here, you got deep AI fakes. So we focus on the data, the logistics, the old school way of doing things, because right now in the modern era with AI and everything else, it's really hard to determine. So why is Bitcoin pumping today? Why is price going up? That is the question. Well, it has to do with a few different things. It has to do with jobs data, has to do with inflation data, has to do with the Iranian war, has to do with Kraken getting a skinny fed master account and what that symbolizes for crypto moving forward. But we're not looking at symbols. We're looking at facts, figures, logic, numbers. XRP today, our favorites on this channel, is up to $1.44. I've finally crossed back over my dollar cost average of $1.43.7 since the initial decline. If you guys have been following, I've been buying all the way down, and we are up. My Robinhood account here is a small example of my overall investing strategy. And again, nothing on this channel is financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. You should always do your own research and consult a financial advisor, but we are here for the long view. We're about building a system more so than any individual token, right? A different mindset of how to invest in crypto and cut through all of these BS narratives that we have to deal with every single day. So XRP is up today, as well as let's check out gold and silver, right? As far as the flights to the safe havens, gold and silver look like they're pulling back a little bit today, but that's to be expected. Let's see here, as the rest of the overall market increases, right? Gold and silver are your safe havens. So there was an original flight to gold and silver when everything happened, obviously, but it's pulled back dramatically since then. Gold at $5,100 and silver now at $83. Again, I'm still up on my gold and silver as I dollar cost average in, but we are down a slight pullback today. That's why we're not really so much worried about the daily price fluctuations unless there are key levels that we are looking at. Example, Bitcoin, right? We were looking at a specific key level for better part of a month and a half now, and we finally did reach it. Now, we do have information on XRP Ledger. We do have information on Iran, or Iran, however you want to pronounce it. I've always said Iran. I know that's not how you pronounce it. I'm sorry. I'm going to say it's ingrained in my Midwest memory. I want to say Iran or Iranian. It's just hard to change that habit. Now, moving forward, everything in crypto is up today. Doge is up. Bitcoin leading at 7.4%. XRP at 5.5%. Remember, during geopolitical uncertainty, Bitcoin is going to perform better than altcoins. Just how it works. XRP Ledger activity. Again, we follow this every single day. We're looking to see an increase in payments volume beyond 2 million and continuing to climb beyond 3 million, etc. Right now, still sitting about a million or so. Today at 772,000. We did peak above 2 million a little while ago, but I'm wanting to see that increase. Again, we need utility to increase price for XRP. What do you guys think? I mean, I guess I always sit here and say that. What do you guys think is going to drive the price of XRP? If you're watching the replay, let me know in comments. If you're watching live, let me know in the chat. I believe it's going to be utility. I believe it's going to be payments volume. I think them being plugged into the DTCC is vitally important. I think them getting right now they have a conditional banking charter. I think once that is approved, that's going to be a major factor. I also think when they get a skinny Fed master account and can plug into the banking sector, it's going to be important. Remember, Ripple has already filed for their skinny Fed master account. We've already seen Kraken approved, and we're going to cover some information about that. Don't worry. We've already seen Kraken approved. So precedent is set. Ripple should get it eventually. Matter of when. Both of those things plug them directly in to the rest of the banking sector that they haven't already done with their infrastructure. And again, if they don't get it, I fully expect them to buy a bank that has it. Again, I said that from the beginning. Or I didn't say that from the beginning. I said that recently, that I believe they're going to buy a bank. And if they can't get their skinny Fed master account and they can't get their banking charter, they're just going to go buy one. That's how it's, they're going to buy a bank before the end of the year. My opinion, not financial advice. That is a prediction of mine. Now, I'm going to skip over X for now. I'm going to skip over Twitter because there's just so much crap on there. Again, account set activity still increasing. AMM activity still increasing on Ledger. Massive spikes, right? AMM create, AMM deposits. So we've had massive increase in utility on Ledger. We want to see it continue. Now, let's talk about Iran. We have some videos here. I went straight to the news because, now granted, I think both of these are Fox News, so take it with a grain of salt. But I am not going to Twitter for this crap. Not right now. There's way too much AI. We'll cover it. Here you go. Welcome back. Israel launching a new wave of strikes across Iran after Tehran struck a U.S. base in Qatar last night. Fox News chief foreign correspondent Trey Yingst on the ground in Tel Aviv right now. Trey.
Maria, good morning. The Israelis are continuing their air campaign against Iran, striking a series of targets this morning across the capital of Tehran. We're also learning from the Israeli Air Force that one of their F-35s shot down an Iranian jet, a significant development, and they say the first dogfight takedown for the Israeli Air Force since the 1980s. As all of this is taking place, there are new conversations about who will lead Iran in the future. The front runner right now, Mujtaba Khamenei, the son of the killed Ayatollah, who was taken out over the weekend in an Israeli strike. We do understand that he has deep ties in the security apparatus in Iran. Now, President Trump was asked about this yesterday. Here's what he had to say about new leadership.
The worst case would be we do this and then somebody takes over who's as bad as the previous person, right? Most of the people we had in mind are dead. So, you know, we had some in mind from that group that is dead. And now we have another group, they may be dead also, based on reports. So I guess you have a third wave coming in. Pretty soon we're not going to know anybody.
In the neighboring country of Iraq, in Najaf, the birthplace of Iran's former Ayatollah, there was a symbolic funeral procession held today as people chanted against the United States and in support of the regime. One of those demonstrators speaking out about the conflict, saying this.
It is a symbolic funeral, which we consider a condemnation of the forces of tyranny, imperialism, and the Americans, so that they can see, even if you kill him, he remains in our hearts and our conscience. This funeral is a thorn in their eyes.
As the Israelis look east, they're also looking north. The Iran-backed Lebanese militant group Hezbollah firing more rockets and drones over the border overnight, and the Israelis striking back in the heart of Beirut, hitting the Dakhya neighborhood, a Hezbollah stronghold. We also understand new evacuation orders have been issued for civilians in southern Lebanon to move north of the Litani River, an indication the IDF may expand their ground operations. Maria?
All right, Trey, stay safe. Thanks very much. Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv. Joining us now with more is former diplomat and military officer and Hudson Institute senior fellow Joel Rayburn. Joel, thanks very much for weighing in. Give us your assessment here.
Well, I think, Maria, in terms of the military confrontation between the Iranian regime and the U.S. and Israel, the outcome is a foregone conclusion. The Iranian regime just doesn't have the military means to continue this kind of resistance for very long. You can see that the volume of ballistic missiles that they're able to launch successfully is diminishing. They still have a fairly robust drone capability, but that's not enough to tip the strategic balance. I think the question now in the coming days is how long it will take to eliminate their ability to disrupt the Strait of Hormuz so that commercial shipping, the energy supplies can exit the Gulf safely. But in the larger sense, Maria, when the Iranians are in an impossible position, when the enemy Air Force is controlling the airspace of your capital and really anywhere else in Iran that it wants to go, it's strategically game over. I don't mean to make light of the damage that the Iranian missiles and drones are doing in Israel or to our service members and so on. But if we zoom out from it and just look at it militarily, analytically, this is not a fair fight.
No, I mean, obviously, the U.S. and Israel have degraded in a significant way Iran's ability. But what about China, the China factor, in terms of its support for Iran? Does that replenish? And what about now the son of the deceased Ayatollah is set to become the successor to his father as the new supreme leader of Iran? Yesterday, the Israeli Air Force reportedly bombed the building where the deliberations were happening among the assembly of experts to find the successor for the Ayatollah. And the president further defended the ongoing strikes with Israel at the White House. Here's the president yesterday. Watch this.
Negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack if we didn't do it. Based on the way the negotiation was going, I think they were going to attack first, and I didn't want that to happen. So if anything, I might have forced Israel's hand, but Israel was ready and we were ready, and we've had a very, very powerful impact because virtually everything they have has been knocked out now. If we don't stop them, or if we didn't stop them, or if we didn't start, they've been decimated. But if we didn't do what we're doing right now, you would have had a nuclear war and they would have taken out many countries.
Joel, do you agree with that? And also, what about my earlier question about China's support for Iran?
Well, let me tackle your question about the son of the supreme leader and what that means.
Okay.
If they actually do elect him as the next supreme leader. I mean, that's just doubling down on an already doomed strategy. And I think if there's a new team of Iranian leaders that attempts to continue to resist and doesn't capitulate to the demands that President Trump and the U.S. are making, they're not going to be very survivable. They may not be there by the end of the week. Let's be honest. Again, when the enemy air force is over your capital, you're not going to be running a state. You're not going to be mounting a coherent defense. China, look, already this is a strategic setback for China. Under Ali Khamenei in Iran, they had a key ally in this coalition of Russia, China, Iran that was essentially revisionist and destabilizing the region around it.
Absolutely,
Iran was
yeah.
a key ally. Or a key ally for Putin in Ukraine. It was supplying the drones and missiles that have been devastating Ukrainian cities. For Xi Jinping, the Iranian regime was a key energy supplier, and he was able to purchase that oil at a deep discount, and he's going to have to go look to replace that energy supply now. So it's a strategic setback for China, for sure.
For sure. And the U.S. Central Command reporting that the U.S. struck over 1,700 targets just in the first 72 hours of the operation, Joel.
Yeah, look, in putting on my former hat as a former CENTCOM officer, if I were sitting in Tampa or in some other command center monitoring the progress of the campaign, I'd say we're way ahead of schedule. The decimation of the Iranian leadership, really the diminishing of their ability to strike with ballistic missiles. And they have no aircraft that can challenge either Israeli or U.S. aircraft. Their aircraft are all from the Shah's era or from the Soviet era, so they can't mount an air challenge. That means that for the next week, 2 weeks, the U.S. and Israel can just strike targets at their leisure. I think, what does that mean strategically? It means it's a regime that's just not going to be able to resist. At some point, probably not too distant, they're going to have to capitulate to the conditions that President Trump has laid down for them.
Well,
There's just no choice.
I want to get your take on what a post-Khomeini Iran looks like. I mean, they're talking about his son in charge here, as we just talked about. But what about Pahlavi? He's been the face of the opposition for a long time. He's joined me several times. And just this last Sunday, when we talked about Khomeini being dead, he offered his plan for a temporary couple of years. Watch this.
This campaign is this time something not just to set back the Iranian nuclear program or anything like that. This is like full decapitation of the regime, and ultimately what will expedite its total collapse. As soon as the transition plan is put into gear, we want to make sure that we address the issue immediately, to make sure that we have the ability to have a stable process, to obviously lead to ultimately a democratic outcome, so the Iranian people get to choose their future government and system. We have the most diverse coalition of people dedicated to that process, representing different parts of the country, including religious minorities, ethnic groups that are all aligned in this national project that we have. From the time that we start until the day we can have the final referendum, I anticipate a period that should not be longer than a couple of years at the most. But what's critical is the first 100 days to immediately stabilize the country.
Joel, it's questionable whether or not the people of Iran want to go back to, I don't know, what could be a monarchy. I mean, Reza Pahlavi saying all the right things. He wants the people to elect, and that would be an incredible moment where we see Iranians actually choose their next leader. It doesn't look like he's got the support of the White House. Your thoughts?
Well, I think President Trump, in addition to the military objectives he's laid down, which are very clear, which is that an Iranian regime at the end of this cannot have the ability to lash out at the region and the world around it by projecting destabilizing power. Very clear military objectives. The political end state, the president is somebody who likes to keep his options open. He likes to maintain strategic ambiguity, but he has said that it's his inclination to support the Iranian people to be able to weigh in on their own political future, that they would be able to seize control of their own government and chart their own destiny. And whether that would be, it would then be up for them to decide whether they want to go back to some form of government that they had in the past, or whether they want to have a democratic transition and so on. You can see that President Trump is very sympathetic to that.
Absolutely. That's what he wants. I think that's what we all want to see. Freedom and a free election would be incredible after all of this time. Joel, thank you. Joel Ray.
All right. So freedom, free election. We are thoroughly in control of what's going on with Iran. But China. This is all about China. This is all about China and Russia. All right. So China was providing weapons to Iran. They've already, I have some information here, but they've already found, guidance systems and things like that with China's fingerprints all over it. So China is heavily involved here as far as industrializing Iran, and I have more information on that as well. Why is this important? Well, because China, Soviet Union, Iran, Brazil, I believe, right? The BRICS nations, right? You're starting to notice a connection here, right? This is going to primarily affect the biggest BRICS nation. This is not about Iran. This is not, in my opinion, this is not about Iran. This is not about nuclear power, even. This is about oil. This is about money. This is about controlling the global economy, my opinion, right? The Strait of Hormuz has immense power as far as shaping the world economy. Whoever controls that controls a huge energy supply, primarily for Russia and China and Japan. I have information on the Strait of Hormuz, but it looks like the U.S. is going to have some firm control over there. That's going to increase our stock market. It just is, right? As well as inflation fears. War creates printing, creates inflation fears. We've seen it numerous times. This is a historical fact, okay? So war creates money printing. Money printing means assets go up because the dollar gets weaker. We also have fears of Japan having to liquidate immense amounts of U.S. markets, U.S. money markets tonight. I've seen a rumor on that as well. Why? Because Japan's economy is struggling. Everyone's economy is struggling with this war because it affects energy. Energy is going to be the biggest key here. And what is Bitcoin, everyone? What is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is a digital store of energy. My opinion. But basically, that's what it is. They use energy to mine Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a store of energy. Bitwise XRP ETF is now the largest XRP ETF in America. 10 million inflows so far this week. Grateful to investors. So Bitwise XRP ETF is the largest XRP ETF in America. Just in, White House officially nominates pro-Bitcoin Kevin Warsh to be the new Federal Reserve Chairman. We don't really have to worry about money printing concerns, right? Kevin Warsh is typically very hawkish when it comes to money printing, but if we're in the middle of a war, he doesn't really have a choice because we're going to have to pay for missiles, right? We can talk about that for a second before I start getting into other stuff. Right, okay. So what is the bulk of Iran's weapon system? They're basically suicide drones, right? They're drone strikes. They are basically using drones to fly them into things to create damage. Those drones cost them $50,000 to make. You know how much an interceptor missile cost? About $1 million. So we're using $1 million missiles to shoot down $50,000 drones. It's not sustainable for us. We're going to have to end this very, very quickly. And what's that going to do? It's going to create a need for war materials. It's going to require a need for missiles, stuff like that. We're seeing Lockheed Martin stock go up. We're, defense contracts, things like that. Because we're using $1 million missiles to shoot down $50,000 drones. Not sustainable for us, not a good thing. We do not want a long, drawn-out war with Iran. That would be terrible in the long view because we would spend so much freaking money. It'd be Vietnam all over again. So, I do love my XArt stuff. I can't play the volume because I know that this one is, I know this one's copyright, but I'll leave the volume. Oh, no volume. Okay, I know this is copyright. But apparently he asked X, who is going to be the MVP of 2026 for crypto? Apparently it's XRP and Brad Garlinghouse. And if you know I'm from Kansas City, I have to stick with the Rock Chalk Jayhawk here. I definitely can't complain about that. I like how they got KU going against the Lakers, though. That's quite interesting. Good old AI. Brad Garlinghouse just stuffing the face of LeBron James there. AI is getting crazy, man. The things they can do Update, SEC to host a private markets roundtable today at 1 p.m. Eastern time. That's happening right now. I'm not streaming that one, but it is available for you. It's more about private. It's more about like getting retail into the private markets that we don't have access to right now. Eleanor Tourette says bank trades are coming out against Kraken FX master account approval. Bank policy says the Kansas City Fed front ran the board's public comment period and violated policy on seeking public comment when it intends to make significant changes to the payment system. ICBA, on behalf of the nation's community banks, says they are very concerned by the approval because they see crypto as a risk. Granting non-bank entities the crypto institution access to the master accounts traditionally limited by highly regulated insured depository institutions poses risks to the banking system. Again, crypto advances, banks don't like it. Shocker. We saw the same kinds of things come out when Ripple applied for their FedMaster account and for their bank charter. This is not new news. The banks don't want it, but they can't stop that. This is what I was talking about. Again, speculation, okay? Bank of Japan will dump foreign bonds today at 6:50 p.m. Eastern time. Last time they sold 1.898 trillion, mostly in U.S. bonds. After the U.S.-Iran crisis, this could hit in 3 trillion right before the rate hike to 1%. This would be bad for markets. So if they do liquidate, obviously that's going to be bad. It's pretty common sense. Will it happen? We don't know, but it could. Something that we always pay attention to. Now, again, you guys know I follow the debasement trade. Cointelegraph says since 2000, every major world currency has lost between 51% to 96% of its purchasing power. Again, debasement. This is why everything appears to be more expensive, because our money is worth less. And it's not just a United States issue. This is a worldwide issue. This is why I invest in gold, silver, copper, and real estate, as well as digital asset infrastructure. Latest ADP jobs report has been dropped. The actual was 63,000. The expected was 50,000. The previous was 22,000. Job creation is ramping up in 2026. This is good news. Inflation stayed level, came back in at 4.3%. So no increase in inflation, and as far as month over month, and increase in jobs. This is a good thing. Scottie Pippen, I met Satoshi back in 1993, he says. Look at Michael Saylor's face.
You mentioned you met Satoshi in Seattle in 1993.
Yes.
He also came to you in a dream. You have a nice relationship with Satoshi.
I feel like I do.
Yeah.
I feel like I have a story to tell. Definitely have an opportunity to meet him back in 1993.
You mentioned
is it me or does Michael Saylor look like his head's
in Seattle
about to
in
snap
1993?
Right there?
He also came to you in a dream. You mentioned you met Satoshi.
We always like to have our fun. We're going to get into a recap for anyone who came in late. Let me take a minute and check on the chat and see what everyone's doing today. Good morning to you, Raul. Thank you for being here as always. First one in. Helly made it in the house today. Sir Charles is here with the Longview crew. Todd Madison. Hello, everyone listening in the car. Welcome, Todd. Thank you for being here. Did the rumors of a ceasefire pump crypto? I think it's a part of it. Again, rumors of a ceasefire. United States said that Iran came out and was... Okay, so the United States claimed that Iran was trying to negotiate a ceasefire, and Iran says that didn't happen. I think that crypto is pumping just because of the overall sentiment of what's going on in Iran, as well as jobs data, inflation data. If we are in control of the strait, that's great for our economy. And I think that they're starting to work that in there. We'll see, though. Tiny Dancer made it in the house today. Iran so far away. Yes, Iran is Iran so far away. I got it. Took me a minute there. I'm still getting over this sickness. Good morning, Longview crew. Ripple buy Kraken. I mean, that's possible. I don't see why they would do it. They've been working with Kraken for a long time. I don't see them buying an exchange, though. But that's just me. I mean, that'd be cool. But I mean, that would give them their Fed Master account too. But I don't see them buying Kraken. That's just my opinion, though. Miss Wendy, people will buy this pump, then get rug pulled. It's manipulation. We'll see. It's very, that's why we dollar cost average it. Okay. I'm not saying that we're going to pump to the moon, but I wanted to see us get past that 70K because we've been smashing against it. We are starting to see us move through that. So, and we also saw it retest 70K. Can it fall through? Absolutely it can. Could it be manipulation? Absolutely it could be. But that's why we dollar cost average in, because we understand, because I believe what crypto is going to be over the next 5 to 10 years. Polymarket ceasefire odds down to 38% by March 31st, even as crypto moving higher today. Could this be a bull trap setting up? I mean, it always could be a bull trap setting up, but let's look at history, right? We look at history. We check history, okay? Historically, when we are in a global conflict, it pumps the markets because we print and print and print. That is the playbook. Look at history. So as long as we come out ahead in the long view of this conflict, I think it's going to pump our bags. But that's me. War means money printing. Money printing means money go up unless you lose. Start watching you a week or so ago. Did your channel dig your channel? Canton and Zebek all the way, my largest bags. All right, thanks, Dustin. I appreciate you being here. Appreciate you letting me know you're in the stream. I love my Canton coin. I don't hold any Zebek because I'm trying to stay out of the private payment systems, right? The retail payment systems until we have clarity. Because my concern is that a lot of what the private payment companies are doing, like Zebek, or like XLM, I think a lot of that could be done with banks and stable coins. And I want to see how the Clarity Act comes out. Because I think the Clarity Act could crush a lot of those retail payment companies like Zebek and XLM. That's what I'm concerned about there. That's why I've been focusing on institutional stuff. But that's just my opinion. I think Zebek is an excellent project. I just have some fear until the Clarity Act is done. That's just me. This week's episode of As the World Turns is fairly entertaining. You're right. Well, it's not just As the World Turns, but you go on X and you go on YouTube and there's 50 million narratives. What's real? What's not? Then you have to deal with the AI and the deep fakes. I have some stuff on that for you that we'll talk about. But then you have the AI and the deep fakes and you really don't know what's real. Sometimes you really have to search. There is no war. It's CGI. You think it's fake? You think it's all fake? I don't know. That is a conspiracy theory. That means Fox and all of them are all on board with the ruse. I don't know about that one, Miss Wendy. That's a heck of a conspiracy theory, though. I see more severe war in water. I don't know what you mean by that. If you're meaning that you think Iran is going to attack water supplies, that's pretty much their only goal. I mean, that's pretty much all they got. That's pretty much Iran's only play unless China and Russia get involved. And it doesn't look like China and Russia want to mess with the United States because of sanctions and everything else. But I've said multiple times on this channel, I think it's all a show. I think it's all a play. I think it's all a charade. But I can't prove that. So we have to try to sit on the sidelines and read the tea leaves. Dunked on the whole team of LeBrons. That's right. It's the Matrix. Ignore all of it and buy the low. That's what I've been doing. I buy the dips. I dollar cost average in on the way down, even though I tried to do my best to understand it and explain it all to you, what I see and what I feel, and break down the narratives. Then, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. But ultimately, it's about the system. Remember, we go through the narratives every single day. The system I designed for me that I shared with you guys is designed to beat the narratives. That is exactly what it is designed to do. It's created a simple system that does not change. Fiat is designed to lose value. If more people understand that, they might trade some of it for silver and XRP. It is exactly designed. Fiat currency is designed to be inflationary. It has to be inflationary because it's all about the velocity of money, right? If you're going to have, so when I say that, I really need to do a video about how money works. So the velocity of money, right? The faster money moves, the larger an economy can grow, right? This is why crypto and blockchain is important because it increases the velocity of money. However, if you're not constantly infusing more money into the system, the economy stagnates. You have to be adding in more money in order for it to flow to certain areas, okay? So money is always being added to the system. Inflation is always a part of the system. Now, what does that do? The people who get the money in the inflation, poor people go spend the money. Rich people use that money to make more money, and the cycle just continues. More money comes in the system, poor people funnel it to the rich people because they make poor people decisions, and then everyone blames the rich people. Now, that's a very archaic description of it. I fully understand there's a lot more to it than that as far as how money actually comes in the system. But that's the basic principle of money, right? Money flows into the system. Some people do well with it. Some people don't. And it funnels to the same freaking place every single time. Silver, XRP, and gold, and Canton. I love my assets. You're absolutely right, Sir Charles. Bitcoin is still undefeated so far. So far it is. And again, I don't hold Bitcoin. I know it's a store of value. I focus on utility. I focus on utility and I focus on that for the return on investment over time. I was a holder of Bitcoin. I held quite a bit of Bitcoin. I started selling it, back in June. I started selling my Bitcoin, June or July. I started selling my Bitcoin and switching it out for gold, silver, and Canton because I felt there was a better opportunity in Canton Network. But that's just me, my opinion. Why waste a war buying opportunity? Well, Barron Trump sure as hell didn't. I have some more information on that as well. I mean, he bought 30 million in oil 2 days before we attacked Iran. He bought 1.07 million XRP. Was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? So, I mean, you can follow the tea leaves. It's ugly. Is it moral? Is it ethical that Trumps are doing this? No. But, I mean, we can't control it. We have to take care of ourselves. Quelly says, I'm trying to catch up in the middle of calls. Sorry if it's been asked. Why is CC inverse to the rest of crypto? I'm not going to say CC is the inverse to the rest of crypto. But what I'm going to say about CC is that the retail markets, it is unaffected by the retail markets. Not that it doesn't follow the rest of crypto. It's not following the stock market. In my opinion, it's following its own utility. That's why we're not seeing like massive, 7-8% drops in CC when Bitcoin's dropping 7-8%. Bitcoin raises, it usually stays flat or drops a percent because it's on. The reason I invest in Canton Coin is because I believe utility is what drives the price. So when the rest of crypto pumps and it doesn't, to me, that is confirming my thesis on Canton Coin. Because when the rest of crypto pumps, it does its own thing. When the rest of crypto drops, it does its own thing. I believe that's because it's focused on utility. Its real value falls in the utility. My opinion. Plus, retail is not heavily invested in Canton. They're just not. The person who said war is CGI, if you had a feeling if you had people feeling the rockets in person, you wouldn't even joke about the war being real. I have plenty of family hiding in bunkers all day long. Okay, Kelly. So Kelly is saying her family is confirming it's real. After XRP appreciates in value, will it be possible to pay with XRP or will it need to be converted to RLUSD? Well, I mean, we don't know how all that's going to shake out yet. I mean, we're still so early in this, but my belief system will be that, at least in the United States, for sure, we'll pay in RLUSD. I don't think the dollar is going away. Multiple businesses, the world runs on the dollar. So I don't think the dollar is going away, but I do think we're going to be using stable coins and digital dollars for sure. I do think it's all going to be tokenized. It's all going to be stable coins. I mean, we already know it's all going to be tokenized. We see that. I do anyway. I see that coming. The world's already saying that. But let's catch up. Let's do a recap for everyone. I have more news as well. I kind of stopped in the middle of it, but I want to catch up for anyone who came in late. Again, I appreciate everyone taking their time to be here today. It's a great day for us, right? Bitcoin is pumping. Crypto is pumping in general. As you can see, I am up today. Again, though, remind you, we've lost over 50%. This bounce feels good. I want to see it continue. We've bumped above 70K, which is what I've been calling for a real pump. It tested 70K. Let me zoom in on it. Came up, hit my second line perfectly. Came back, touched my first line perfectly, retested, and blew through it. It will probably come back down here and test again on the 71,000, 72,000 line, and then continue to run up, my opinion. Or it could sell off tonight, depending on what happens with Japan, what happens with China. Remember, this is a giant geopolitical thing. We're going to have daily swings. But this gives me confidence that we probably won't fall lower than 70K again without some major issue. Now, are major issues possible? Sure they are. We're in the middle of a war. Of course major issues are possible. But that's what I'm looking at from an analysis standpoint. That's what I've been looking at from an analysis standpoint for months, or for at least a month, since I called this out way back here when we originally fell through back at the beginning of February. So a month, yeah. And you could see this channel, right? We came in, failed, came in, failed, came in, failed, came in, failed. Like all the way along around here. So came up, touched 70K, failed. Came up, touched 70K, failed. So that's why I've been focusing on this. It's the first time we pushed through it with some real volume and actually sustained it. So I want to see that continue. What does that do for XRP? Well, XRP is currently at $1.44. And again, I've said it. Geopolitical issues, geopolitical trauma, geopolitical drama, Bitcoin is going to perform better than altcoins because it's trusted. Temporarily, at least. That's why we're seeing a larger push in Bitcoin than we are seeing in the altcoins, which is not typical, right? Usually when Bitcoin pumps 3-4%, we see the altcoins pump 7-9%. Well, this time Bitcoin pumped 7%, and we're only seeing XRP at 5.5%. BNB at 3.7%, ETH doing really, really well at 8%. But as you can see, most of the altcoins are underneath this move, right, for Bitcoin. That's why, because of the geopolitical uncertainty. More safety in Bitcoin. We covered XRP Ledger. Again, still waiting to see this move beyond 3 million. Payments data maintaining over 1 million and continuing to maintain over 1 million. We want to see it climb. Account set activity still maintained at levels higher than we've ever seen in the ledger. AMM activity now spiking higher than we've ever seen in the ledger. Data coming on chain. Want to see it continue to process into payments data, because I believe utility is what will appreciate the price of XRP. We watched this video from Fox. Again, Fox, very right-leaning, and because I'm wearing red, that does not mean I'm a Republican. Believe it or not, I'm wearing red because red, I love Tiger Woods. Red's my power shirt. I need to rethink that. Red is my power shirt. When markets are doing good, I want to wear red. It's the opposite of what we should. I guess I should wear green when the markets are doing well and red when the markets are doing bad. Maybe that's a better opportunity for me. So we watched this talking about Iran, what's going on in Iran, what's going on with a possible ceasefire. And again, there were no talks of a ceasefire in any credible outlet that I have looked at. However, there are rumors that Iran is trying to negotiate with the U.S. for a ceasefire. U.S. said that, apparently, but Iran is saying it didn't happen. Breaking, Qatar declares a state of emergency, stopping all gas production. And then again, I like to have my fun stuff. Me in 5 years, wondering why no one was listening to me over this in the last 2 to 3 years. Sitting by myself with my money in the coffee shop. That's okay. Feeling sorry for everyone else who missed the train. Soil hinting at yield for XRP. Should we make yield on XRP? Asking for a friend, says so. Remember, they are already doing yield for RLUSD, partnered with XRP Ledger and Ripple. Financial Times. Investors ditch private credit funds on rising worries over bad loans. I have been talking about creaks and cracks in private credit. Still a worry here. We still have economic worries here. Again, war covers that up when you start printing money into oblivion. Same thing has happened before, ladies and gentlemen. Last time we were teetering towards a recession and Trump was in office, COVID happened. What happened? We printed ourselves into oblivion. What happened? Assets skyrocketed. We were tiptoeing into a recession. Creaks in private credit. Inflation, bad. Job data, bad. What happened? Now we're tiptoeing into a war with Iran. It is the economic playbook, my friends. My opinion. You can call me a tinfoil hat person, but we've seen it happen in history. Economy bad. We need a catastrophe. That's what changes economies. Just in, Iran reportedly offers to discuss terms for ending the war with U.S. and Israel. Again, this is BRICS info that's saying this. U.S. said this was true. Iran saying it's not true. Okay? It's official. Stock trading is now live on Coinbase. And Trump met privately with Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong before criticizing the banks over the stalled crypto bill. If you missed it, Trump sent out a tweet yesterday basically telling banks to stop holding the Clarity Act hostage and they need to get on board. Trump is choosing the sides of the banks, and I'll have that tweet for you here soon. Breaking news, the U.S. stock market surges as New York Times reports that Iran made a secret offer to the U.S. to negotiate a deal to end the war. Potential terms include Iran to abandon or drastically curtail its ballistic missile and nuclear programs. Iran to abandon or drastically reduce support for proxy groups. In return, Trump has suggested he would allow Iran's surviving leaders to maintain power. Trump has suggested he would employ the Venezuela model. It remains unclear if a deal is feasible at this point. We are between step 6 and step 7 of our conflict playbook. So, that is someone selling their presidential Trump conflict playbook as an investor. You guys can look at it if you want. Again, this is not confirmed. Doppler Finance and Hex Trust have partnered to bring institutional grade custody and yield infrastructure to wrapped XRP, expanding XRP liquidity across multiple blockchain ecosystems beyond the XRP ledger. So now, DeFi XRP, yield-bearing XRP, is now available across multi-chain because Doppler Finance is now partnered with Hex Trust. DeFi for XRP is really, really, really shaping out. Canton Network coming out, putting out a new Canton coin in silver? Looks like silver to me, doesn't it? Do we have something with silver coming to Canton coin? I don't know. But why would they change their token to silver as opposed to their normal gold? Interesting. All right, and again, we already stated this. Kraken got their second largest crypto exchange, has done something no other crypto firm has done, secured and converted access to the Federal Reserve, securing its Skinny Fed master account. Now for some fun, everybody. Now for some fun. These meetings, these conversations are pretty damning.
Are you aware of any files that were on Anthony Weiner's laptop in a folder that was titled insurance, life insurance, with a zip file titled Frazzled.
I'd like
This is way
I'd like a
outside the
chairman's
scope.
ruling.
This
Is
is
this
way
within the
outside the
scope?
scope.
Is this within the scope, Mr. Chairman?
If the chairman rules that it's not within the scope, I
Mr.
have
Chairman,
other
based on
questions.
what you said in the public hearing, is this within the scope?
We can go off the record for a moment. To
Mr. Chairman, is this within the scope?
We'll go off the record and can talk.
Life insurance on Anthony Weiner's laptop. Shocking. They don't want to talk about that on the record. Wonder what that could be about, Hillary. Oh, it gets better, though. Bill Clinton asked about a Clinton staffer who signed in Jeffrey Epstein in the White House multiple times that died by suicide, both by hanging and gunshot. What does Bill have to say?
Are you aware that Mr. Middleton committed suicide
Yes, I am.
in 2022? He was found dead at Hefner Ranch.
Look at his handshake.
Approximately 30 miles from his home in Little Rock. He was discovered hanging from a tree by an extension cord around his neck with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the chest. So he was shot and hung.
A self-inflicted gunshot wound to the chest.
Do you have
And
any,
then hung himself.
any information that leads you to suspect that he did something other than commit suicide?
No.
Okay. Do you have any concerns that this was in relation to his knowledge or relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, given the date?
But the president has
of the
already
suicide?
testified to the fact that he was unaware that Mr. Epstein was visiting the White House. So are you asking him then as to what he would have known?
I'm asking, when you heard about the death, knowing about the things that have been, at this point, it's all over the news, seeing that he has committed suicide. Have you ever had any conversations with people about whether or not that there's any relationship between the two?
Oh, no. No one's ever suggested it to me.
Okay. Thank you. I yield back.
Next up, Mr.
It's really sad.
Mr.
It is.
McGuire from Virginia.
All right. So if you can see me, I'm who kills themselves like this? Who's going to shoot themselves like this with a gun? Nobody. And then how are you going to hang yourself after? Or are you going to hang yourself and then shoot yourself like this? That doesn't make any freaking sense. We know that's bogus. Barack Hussein Obama gifted our most sophisticated drone to Iran and then asked for it back. Next, Iranian officials claim they could now reproduce the drone. Fast forward, Iran is using sophisticated suicide drones.
President Obama confirmed what we first reported here last Thursday. The aircraft captured by the Iranians earlier this month is, in fact, one of America's most sophisticated spy planes. The president was asked about it today.
We have asked for it back. We'll see how the Iranians respond.
In Iran, experts have been poring over the drone. Iranian TV claimed today that they've recovered data from the RQ-170 aircraft, and a top Iranian military official says they can now reproduce it, though U.S. experts doubt that. President Obama confirmed what we first reported.
So we gave them the drone they're using against us in this war. Thanks, Obama. I'm not saying it's his fault, but they are using the drone. That's where they got the drone. They got it from us. Shocker. Just in, Barron Trump bought $30 million of oil just 2 days before the war started. I told you guys that, but there you go. Trump's new defense plan quietly creates a National Guard response force trained in crowd control and civil unrest, deployable across all 50 states by April 2026. This wasn't in any headline. They buried it. Now connect the dots. Epstein files drop. Names get redacted. Evidence of child abuse gets withheld. A war starts the same week, and now a domestic force trained to suppress the American people is going to be operational by spring. Ask yourself, spring of what? 2026? Midterms, the last election cycle that could strip his power before 2028. This is a man actively building infrastructure to never leave office. These are the kind of things we have to sift through when we're trying to see what's real and what's not.
Sir, a memo circulating on social media details the establishment of a National Guard response force that's going to be trained in crowd control and civil unrest and deployed in all 50 states by April of 2026. Can you verify the authenticity of that memo, and do you have any more information on the operations?
I'm not going to answer particulars on something that may be in the planning process, but we definitely do have
multiple layers of National Guard response forces, whether it's in each state, whether it's regionally, whether it's Title 10 active duty, whether it's Washington, D.C. We've got a lot of different ways that constitutionally and legally we can employ Title 10 and Title 32 forces, and we will do so when necessary.
Secretary Hegseth.
All right. So they didn't deny they're doing it, but they wouldn't answer the question. So why do we need forces in the United States? I'm concerned about that. Not going to lie. I am a little concerned about that. Why do we need a group of forces in the United States? Scoop, a group from Coinbase, including CEO Brian Armstrong, visited the White House today. Per 3 people familiar with the meeting, I could not confirm whether they met directly with President Trump. Coinbase did not respond on multiple requests for comment. Shortly after, Trump had his tweet. The Genius Act is being threatened and undermined by the banks, and that is unacceptable. We are not going to allow it. The U.S. needs to get market structure done ASAP. Americans should earn more money on their money. The banks are hitting record profits, and we are not going to allow them to undermine our powerful crypto agenda that will end up going to China and other countries if we don't get the Clarity Act taken care of. The Genius Act was the USA's first step to make the United States the crypto capital of the world, and getting the Clarity Act done is the next step to finish the job. Most importantly, keep this big and powerful industry in our country. The banks should not be trying to undercut the Genius Act or hold the Clarity Act hostage. They need to make a good deal with the crypto industry because that's what's in the best interest of the American people. But this industry, excuse me, let me get my brain caught back up here. This industry cannot be taken from the people of America when it's so close to becoming truly successful. Thank you for your attention in this matter, President Trump. So, Trump sides with crypto. Again, his family owns a crypto company where he should be expecting that. Again, we can always expect people to do what's best for their own interest when it comes to finance, even our president, especially our president. My opinion, not financial advice. So let's see what's going on in the chat. Hopefully that was a good recap for everyone, and I got some more news for you guys. So we will get caught up in the chat here. Kelly says, what is your thoughts lately on metals? I don't have any investment yet in gold or silver because I feel I don't want to buy at the top, but I do own a copper ETF and it's not doing much, down a bit. I don't know the tops and bottoms of silver and gold. I didn't want to buy it when it was on like an 80% run like it was in December when we were talking about it, Kelly, but it came back down to the 70s, and I bought more when silver was at, roughly $73 an ounce. That's when I was buying it, not financial advice. It's about dollar cost averaging in. I buy the red candles, not the green candles. So when it's running up, when I see it run, let me pull up the silver futures. I can pull up exactly what I'm talking about so we can share a visual together. Let me pull that up for you. Silver futures. So when we talked about this last time, we were discussing it back in, what was it, December-ish, I think? There's January. Okay, we were talking about it right around here, I think, right? When we were doing this number. And I'm looking at this, I'm like, I'm not buying it right here. Like, I'm not buying at this, like these prices, because it was just running up. And then it ran all the way up here and fell. And when it made this fall, this is when I bought, right? And I bought it right down here at $73. And then it fell again. I didn't get this bottom because it's not about timing every top and bottom, but I'm just not buying these giant green candles. You see what I'm saying? So there's no exact number. There's no tops or bottoms. It's just about the easiest way to do it is just a dollar cost average in over time. Pick a single day, every single week or every single month, and take the stress out of it. Don't worry about buying high or buying low. But the only thing is, if you see something on an 80% run, that's generally not the time to buy it. But that's all I was saying about not buying tops and not buying bottoms. When everyone's saying buy silver, buy silver, buy silver, and it's on an 80% run, that's typically not the time to buy it. But that's just my opinion. So If you want the easy, no non-hype way, forget everything I said and just buy one day, every single week, or every single month, regardless of the price. That's the easiest way to do it. Instead of timing tops and bottoms, just remove all emotion out of it. My opinion. If you don't want to try to focus on tops and bottoms, or it's giving you anxiety, or it's giving you any of those things, remove it. Just buy every week. In the long term, in the long view, it really won't make that much of a difference, truthfully. Hopefully that's a good answer for you. Is the 5 million mark what you want to see on the XRP ledger? Well, right now, the next thing I want to see is the 3 million mark. But then after that, ultimately what I want to do is I want to see it go above what it was doing in 2024 when it was doing all the CBDC pilots. Let me pull that up for you. So when we go back and look at the ledger, if you go back and look at 2024 over here, this area, this is when we had the most amount of activity on the ledger. You pull it over right here. And at that point, we were over 5 million. So yeah, I want to see 5 to 6 million. I want to see it continue to increase. Now, will it be something like what we're seeing now, where it's a steady like climb thing, or is it going to be something like we saw over here? Well, this was the announcement of the CBDC pilots. This was a pilot, okay? Imagine once they get full governments, full currencies, and all that stuff going on the XRP ledger. And again, this was January of 2024, right? This is XRP, was it Freedom or Liberation Day, right? So, I mean, yeah, ultimately, I guess that I didn't look at the number, but I wanted to see it get up here and compete with what it was doing in 2024. So, yeah, 5 million. I want to see it up in those levels again. And that's a new name, 318 Blue. Haven't seen that one. Where are you from? Welcome to the channel. Plague Dog, show me the charts and I'll tell you the news. Technical analysis is king. Well, here you go. Tell me the news, Plague Dogs. Here you go. Here's your Bitcoin chart. Tell me the news, my friend. Is my analysis correct on the 70K? You tell me. I have been waiting for us to push through this zone. What do you think? We pushed into it, tested it, and pushed through it with volume. That's what I've been waiting for. So what's your analysis? Where does it go from here? I believe we're going to come back down and retest our level here right around 72,000, and before we go up and try and test a new high around 75 to 76,000. But that's me. New high as in higher highs, you know, lower lows from what we've been doing on this step up. Not all-time highs, obviously. Kentucky. All right, whereabouts in Kentucky? So for those of you new who may not have caught it, before I started working in crypto, I did 10 years as a freight broker, working with truckers and sending them all over the country. So I pretty much know every state, every town. I worked in it for over a decade. So that's kind of my fun thing when I get new people in. I want to know where they're from. I'm from the Kansas City area in Missouri, not Kansas, as you can see from all the Chiefs stuff in my room here. But yeah, the channel is growing. I appreciate, again, real quick, shout out to you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you to my members. Thank you to Charles. Thank you to Todd Madison. Thank you to Pam Stamper, whether he's in here or not. He normally catches the replay. But I do a members-only live stream. Oh, and Raul. I didn't forget you either, Raul, my resident trucker. So I stream every single day, Monday through Saturday at noon. The stream, this channel, is more about creating a community of a long view perspective for crypto and getting out of the hype, the pump and dump, cutting through the noise, cutting through the million different narratives we get for one piece of news and finding out what it actually means for us. Why Bitcoin is actually pumping when we have 10 different narratives out there that are saying this is the reason, right? We need to slow down, zoom out, step away, and get an idea of how things are really building. That is the goal of the channel, is to quiet the noise and create a community that's around investing in crypto for the long view and believe in the long-term vision of crypto. That's me. That's why I'm here. That is the purpose of the channel. So thank you for joining, and thank you to every single one of you who are helping it grow. Let's see here. For a supply shock, do we need companies to buy from the escrow or from the exchanges? Do we need the Clarity Act for that? I really think in order for there to be a real supply shock scenario, it's going to take utility, right? It's going to take XRP getting locked up. It's not going to be one thing. It's not going to be one thing. It's XRP being locked up in DeFi. It's XRP being locked up in banking corridors, right? When we're talking about settling FX and cross-border payments, those corridors, right? When we're talking about corridors, we're talking about Euro USD, we're talking about Yen USD, we're talking like we need things for XRP to bridge between. That's why the DEX going live was so vitally important, because it serves the exact function that XRP was designed to do, right? So in order for there to be supply shock, I don't think it has to do with escrow. I mean, I'm of the belief when Clarity Act comes through, if Ripple has to dump some of their escrow, it's just going to go to Evernorth, and Evernorth's going to use it to make more money. That's my belief. That seems to be the smartest. If I was Ripple, I would do that. Why wouldn't I just park my XRP into another company and let them make money on it? That's literally, Evernorth is a treasury company centered around XRP. It's a great place to park XRP. My opinion. So I don't think they're going to sell off the escrow. If they have to get rid of some of it due to the Clarity Act or whatever the case, I can see it going to Evernorth. I could see it going to their NDA partners that are floating around out there. Don't forget, Ripple still has 1,700 NDAs floating around the banking sector. Ever send anything to a 3M company in Cynthiana, Kentucky? It sounds extremely familiar. I did a lot of stuff around Shelbyville, Kentucky, Hopkinsville, Kentucky. Gosh, Cynthiana. That doesn't ring a bell to me. It doesn't ring a bell to me. Cynthiana. It looks familiar, but it's not ringing a bell. But yeah, I was a carrier specialist for a brokerage for about 10 years. I'm still on a non-compete, so I can't talk about them. But I freaking hate them. They're trash company. I'll just say that. Hopefully they're watching. Fuck you guys. You're a trash company. Anyway, I'm a little bitter. Worked for a place for 10 years. You have a stroke and they let you go. Terrible. Terrible thing. I'm still on my long-term disability for them. I'm going to take them for every dollar I can get. But it is what it is. So yeah, that is the stream today, guys. We're over an hour. We've covered everything. As always, I always try to give you a little something fun. You guys know that. And I want to find out if this is copyrighted or not. I'm really not sure because I do so many things. We found this one yesterday, so I'll put it out there for you guys again. But before I do that, again, be careful with the deep fakes, with the AI, with all the stuff that's floating around out there. I've seen so many videos. I retweeted some of them, but you can see very clearly that AI is trying to create some issues with this war as well. Iran putting out deep fakes of stuff. Real quickly, though, I want to show you guys this before I'm about to get off here. This is about the Strait of Hormuz. Really important information, really good information.
Area of just 33 kilometers. If Iran blocks the Strait of Hormuz, what impact will it have on the entire world, and which country will be affected the most? First, let's understand what the Strait of Hormuz actually is. It is a small area of just 33 kilometers located between Iran, Oman, and the UAE. It is a narrow sea passage through which almost 20% of the world's oil supply flows, nearly 17 million barrels every day. This oil comes from 8 countries located in the Persian Gulf, including Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE for the United Arab Emirates. Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Qatar, 90% of their oil exports pass through this narrow route to reach the rest of the world. If Iran blocks the Strait of Hormuz, following countries will suffer the most damage. First is India, because it imports 85% of its oil, and 60% of that comes from Middle Eastern countries like Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and the UAE. Fuel prices in India would skyrocket, and as a result, result, everything related to oil and all industries would face severe disruption. Industries could shut down, there would be job losses, and the economy would be severely affected. The second most affected country would be China. China is the world's largest oil importer, bringing in 10 million barrels of oil every day. 40% of China's oil imports pass through this Strait of Hormuz. Although China has built oil pipelines with Russia and Central Asia, they don't even fulfill 20% of its energy needs. So, if the Strait of Hormuz is blocked, China's economy could suffer a massive blow, and if China's economy is shaken, its effects will be felt all over the world. The third most affected country would be Japan, as it imports 90% of its oil, and 75% of that passes through the Strait of Hormuz. The fourth most affected country would be Saudi Arabia. 80 to 90% of Saudi Arabia's oil goes to the rest of the world through Strait of Hormuz, while only 10% goes to Europe via its Red Sea coastline. So if this choke point is blocked, Saudi Arabia's economy will be heavily impacted. Imagine that a country suddenly loses 80 to 90% of its revenue. What would happen to it? Something similar could happen to Saudi Arabia. There's also a high chance that Saudi Arabia might send in its military to reopen the route, and that could make the situation even worse. Fifth is Pakistan, which gets about 90% of its oil through the Strait of Hormuz. This oil meets around 27% of the country's energy.
The idea, okay? It affects everything, everyone, from the people exporting to the people importing, and then the ripple effects, pun intended, that go outwards from there. Okay, this is a real deal. This is gonna impact a lot. The longer this goes, the bigger the impact will be. We don't want this to last an extremely long time, because the longer it goes, the worse it will be. That's bad juju. We don't want bad juju. Bad juju bad, right? You're on, okay, long story. I've been watching for a couple weeks now. Well, welcome to the channel. Thanks for hopping in the stream. Thanks for letting us know you are here. And again, I appreciate everyone taking the time to be here. Your time's the most valuable thing you have, and the fact that you guys spend it with me, I'm extremely grateful for it. So I really do appreciate that. We're gonna get out of here though. I got a goodbye for you. I always try to keep it fun. I always try to keep it light. Especially at the end, especially when we're dealing with war and terror and all of these things. So I always try to keep it a little extra fun. So I got this for you guys again today, in case you missed it.
Persistent into the future. But XRP, it's really about this very fundamental driver of demand.
My family thinks less of me because I told them to buy XRP, and all my friends quit texting me cause all I talk about's the XCC. When the price rose, it was just like ecstasy, but then it crashed so unexpectedly, and no one's standing next to me, cause I still tell them to buy XRP. Put all my faith in Brad Garland House, and now I do not have a house. Still figuring the riddles out, and no one knows what I'm talking about, but I still buy my XRP. If you don't like it, you can suck my DM. Buy my XRP. I guess that's just how it goes. Agendas nobody knows, and it's like the things that happen are all part of a show. You either see it or don't. You either will or you won't. But when the price is really low, I fucking back up the boat, and I'ma buy my XRP. If you don't like it, you can suck my DM. Buy my XRP. They call me bag holder number one. While they're laughing, I'm buying more, son. My therapist says let it go, man. I said no, it's all part of the plan. And when the flipping turns the page, I'll be laughing from my yacht's range. Cause every time they say it's dead, I load my fucking wallet up instead. And I'm a bye-bye XRP. If you don't like it, you can suck my DM. Bye-bye XRP.
Shout out to XArt for making awesome content. I'll see you